Fort Langley, the birthplace of British Columbia. Immediately east of the city of Surrey, in southwestern British Columbia, Canada, lies the township of Langley. It is a district municipality that extends south from the Fraser River to the Canada-United States border and west of the city of Abbotsford. Langley Township is not to be confused with the city of Langley, which is adjacent to the township, but politically is a separate entity. Langley Township is famous, among other things, on account of Fort Langley, which is considered the birthplace of British Columbia. For thousands of years, the area that is now Langley Township was inhabited by various Stolo nations, including the Katzie and Kwantlen. Known as the River of Connections, the Fraser River is a cradle of transportation, history, and culture. First peoples were drawn to the banks of the Fraser River thanks to furs and fish. The first Europeans that arrived in the area were the traders of the Hudson's Bay Company. Established in 1670, this British company became a central player in the European exploration, colonization, and settlement of much of North America. By the early 1800s, the fur trade was advancing west towards the Pacific. In 1821, the Northwest Company and the Hudson's Bay Company amalgamated, creating a powerful monopoly to drive off the American traders. While fur trading posts were established along northern portions of the Fraser River previously, in 1827, Fort Langley on the lower Fraser River was established on the banks of the Fraser River. Because of its ideal location, Fort Langley quickly became a central trade and forwarding depot in Hudson Bay Company's network of trading posts along the west coast and across northern and western Canada. Meanwhile, it grew into a hub for farming, smithing, as well as shipping furs back to Europe. Over time, exports of cranberry and salmon replaced fur trading as Fort Langley's primary source of income. In 1858, gold was discovered in the Fraser Canyon, and Fort Langley witnessed the frenzy of a gold rush. It became increasingly important as a supply station for the miners heading up the Fraser River towards the gold fields. With thousands of gold prospectors, many of them American, streaming into the region, Queen Victoria's government answered James Douglas' warning about the crush of gold seekers by passing the British Columbia Act. On November 19, 1858, as the first governor, James Douglas proclaimed at Fort Langley the formation of the new Crown Colony of British Columbia. The colony of Vancouver Island and the colony of British Columbia merged in 1866, and 5 years later, on July 20, 1871, the province of British Columbia joined Canadian Confederation. The addition of the Pacific Coast province made Canada truly a nation from sea to sea. Sir James Douglas was described by some historians as the father of British Columbia. In his early life, he was associated first with the Northwest Company and later with the Hudson's Bay Company. He founded Fort Victoria in 1843. As the governor of Vancouver Island from 1851 to 1864 and governor of British Columbia from 1858 to 1864, James Douglas laid the foundation of this province. With the gold rush ended in the 1860s, Fort Langley's importance began to decline. However, farming and logging took over as the dominant industries of the area. Fort Langley witnessed the bustle of the fur trade, the frenzy of a gold rush, and the formation of the colony of British Columbia. Known as the birthplace of British Columbia, Fort Langley is one of Canada's most important historic sites. At the Fort Langley National Historic Site managed by Parks Canada, discover tales of trade between Hudson's Bay Company workers, Indigenous people, and gold prospectors. Watch blacksmithing and try gold panning to get a flavor of life in the 19th century. Specifically, the SS Beaver was the first steamship on the West Coast. It arrived from England as a sailboat in 1836. Upon arrival, the paddle wheel was installed and the boiler filled. It is ready to trade up and down the British Columbia coast. The Hudson's Bay Company can now trade goods for furs and fish all year round by taking this mobile trading post up every inlet and river, wind or no wind. This traveling trading post gave the Hudson's Bay Company a big advantage when other trading companies trying to move in. The big house served as office area as well as the home of James Yale, chief trader of the Hudson's Bay Company. Under James Yale, Fort Langley experienced a spike in retail sales in early 1858. The sales were averaging about $1,500 a day. The articles sold were primarily flour, bacon, beans, and mining tools. Fort Langley witnessed boom and bust cycles, first in the trading of furs and salmon, and later on the advent and eventual decline of the gold rush. Around Fort Langley, apart from the Parks Canada historic site, go to the CN train station and learn about the era when rail was king. Originally built in 1915, the station welcomed the royal family. In 1951, Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip slowly passed through Fort Langley aboard the royal train. The station was made a flag stop in 1972 and closed permanently in 1980. The CN station was turned into a Langley Heritage Site by the Langley Heritage Society in 1984. Walk across Jacob Howdy Bridge, which was originally built in 1932 and rebuilt in 1994. Along the trails of the Bray Island Regional Park, it's fun watching the flow of the Fraser River, reflecting upon the mighty river that has borne witness to the heritage, the beauty, and the liveliness of this remarkable place. On July 1st, the Fort Langley Historic Site hosted a Canada Day celebration. Dozens of immigrants were taking oath with great pride as new citizens of this beautiful country. Thank you for watching and listening. Please subscribe to this channel, Words of Woods.